Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Everyday Excellence. I'm your host, Todd Baldwin, and today we have Zane Fonseca, the GM of Landry Mechanical. Zane, how you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's what is today? It's Thursday, right? So we're approaching the weekend, which is always good. And right now, it's World Cup fever here, right? I mean, everybody's going nuts. Jerry World, as I like to call it, right? Cowboy Stadium has been rocking, so that's been cool to see.
Yes, sir.
Um, yeah, it's interesting to get all the hear all the fans' feedback from the different stadiums, but in particular that one because I'm in Dallas Fort Worth, big Cowboys fan, as are you. But yeah, they're like blown away by how cool that stadium is.
Yeah, it's a great stadium. I have not personally been there. My father said he's made the trip a couple times, so hopefully soon enough.
Yeah, no, yeah, you need to go at least once, but just bring your billfold because
I
Jerry,
heard that.
yeah, he's gonna get you.
I heard that.
So, all right, so um, Landry Mechanical, right, is in central Massachusetts. It's about 45 minutes outside of Boston and is growing in a very competitive HVAC plumbing market. Zane is a GM and works closely with Ray, the owner, to run and scale the company. And Zane, what I loved about your story is you have a unique perspective because you actually owned your own plumbing company for 12 years before joining Landry Mechanical. So tell us a little bit about all the areas you serve and what it is all that Landry Mechanical does.
Yeah, sure thing. So again, thank you. We are a pretty fast growing company in the Central Mass area. We go out to the outskirts of Boston, so we don't serve the Boston market, but just right before that. And then we go out west, I'd say, about 15 to 20 miles from where we're located. And there's an area called Springfield that we do not enter, but that's probably the next bigger city in Massachusetts that would be down the Mass Pike, as they call it. It goes
Sure.
from end to end of the state. So pretty big territory that we do have. We're roughly 80 employees, between our employees in-house and then some of our employees that are actually employed all over the country, and some outside of the country as well. So we are probably about 60% of our business is HVAC installation. And then the other, 40% is a mixture of electrical, plumbing, HVAC services. And then we are starting to push ourselves into that electrical and plumbing install market as well. So starting to balance ourselves out a little bit more on that front so that we're not so dependent on the weather, especially here in New England. We've got all the seasons. So we've got harsh conditions all around. And so we do it all.
Man, you guys sure do. You mentioned you don't service the actual Boston area. Is that by design? Is it just want to stay out of that big market or?
Yeah, right now it's sort of by design. You really, once you're in the Boston marketplace, you've got to expect quite a bit of different metrics in your business. You're probably only going to get one, maybe two jobs, on service done a day if you're lucky, just because of the traffic, because of the difficulty with parking, things like that. When it comes to installation, it's a pretty good marketplace. It's just, again, you're dealing with a whole world of different challenges. Where do you park? Is there different special permits, things like that? So currently we're staying out of that marketplace. It's pretty well saturated already anyways. And,
Sure.
there's no opportunity, in our minds as we continue to just develop in the marketplace that we're currently in. We're just trying to nail it in our territory. We got a lot of opportunity in our territory still. Um, you know, Areas that are on the outskirts of Boston specifically, those are the marketplaces that we're not super strong in. And that's probably our biggest opportunity. So Foxborough, you mentioned Dallas Cowboys Stadium in
Sure.
Fort Worth. So Foxborough is where the Patriots play. And of course, they live in the outskirts of that area. And, it's a pretty well-to-do area with lots of opportunity for us, very densely populated area as well. So that's where we're putting a lot of focus at the moment. And, we're trying to grow. So we're around 18 million right now. And we're looking to go to around 30 million over the next 3 years.
Okay. Hey, it's a great goal and great job getting to 18. That's not easy. A lot of businesses can really get stagnant around that 5 million mark. To go to 5 to 10 is a whole nother world. And then to go 10 plus is a whole nother, typically reorganization, just to do things different to keep growing. So awesome on the 18 million. I had a quick question about the HVAC side because you're up in the Northeast. So you got brutal winters and you've got summer. How much of that business is heating versus the AC side? Is it
So you,
split 50/50 or is
yeah,
it?
it's pretty much. I would say air conditioning season is our Super Bowl, so it's subtly larger in size. We'll probably do another $1 million just in the AC business overall, maybe $500,000. I don't know the exact number. I don't have it in front of me, but somewhere in there on the AC side. So I'd say 60/40 is probably a better metric, AC to heating.
All the HVAC guys here in Dallas Fort Worth, where I'm at, heating is a very small number because uh, we will have some cold weather, but typically, it's here and gone, and then it'll even warm up a little bit. But so they've got to really make hay in the spring, and all the way through, September when we get that real intense heat. Back in March we had like 95-degree day and everybody was freaking out because it was too early for that. But the AC guys liked it because they got a little bump, right? But yeah, so just I worked with HVAC guys for years, so it's just interesting to me how that heating is totally different market up where you're at. Um, so let's dive into. Tell me a little bit about your story because I think it's really cool. You owned a business for 12 years. How did you get into that entrepreneurial world of running your own business? And then what made you decide to shift and take on this GM role with your current company?
Yeah. So I started working through high school actually for a local, local hardware store in town, a small town in upstate New York, north of Syracuse. Great family. They taught me how to be a man in a lot of ways. They also happened to be a large family. So there was 7 brothers and a sister. It was a huge family. And of the 7 brothers, 6 of them were plumbers. So in the evenings, one of the owners would take me out and we would do some, plumbing side jobs essentially for people who came into the store who couldn't get their water heater replaced, or, they were working on a small little shut off they couldn't fix or whatever. So we said, oh, we'll pop in after and we'll do it. Well, that's what got me interested in plumbing. Cause I was like, wow, this is pretty lucrative for an hour's worth of work.
Sure.
And it was more of a challenge than going and stacking shelves and put lumber away, which was a great job, by the way. And, like I said, taught me to be a man, putting in the hard work, long hours. I got to get a lot of experience working with the public, working the cash register, talking to all the people, helping them out. So that was a really cool experience. Really set me up for life. From there, I ended up deciding I was going to go into the plumbing business full time. And I didn't end up working for the family that had the hardware store. So I ended up going to Roto-Rooter, believe it or not. So everybody knows Roto-Rooter. Okay. That was a locally owned Roto-Rooter in Syracuse, and did that for about 4 or 5 years. So now I'm, my early 20s. And during that time, the owner saw my ability to communicate really well and deal with challenges really well. So he decided to make me the operations manager towards the end of my career at Roto-Rooter. Did that. Really what he was looking for, though, was more of an outside salesperson. So there was a little bit of conflict in where our best uses were supposed to be. So you know what I said? I said, I'm going to take a stab at this on my own. I'm just going to go start my own plumbing company and go after it. So got my license, went out and started my plumbing company. Started the good old fashioned way, man, with a little bit of money that I had saved, bought a truck, bought a trailer, used my garage out of my home to get the business going, and eventually grew that to around a $3 million company at the end, 2.5 to 3 million. So nothing huge. We did a lot of drain cleaning. We did a lot of underground replacement. That was my favorite thing to do. Water heaters, faucet replacements, bathroom remodels. A lot of that stuff that was a market, where people did it, but they didn't really focus on it. They were focused on new construction, not as much as the service, at least in that area. So I saw a niche, business for me to walk into and be able to do something with pretty quick. And it went well. I enjoyed it. I really had a good time with that business. My wife at the time, now ex-wife, the reason we moved from Syracuse area to Massachusetts is for her career. So
Okay.
at the end of there, I said, okay, well, let's do it. And then I sort of let the plumbing company diminish there at the end. And I said, all right, I'm gonna put myself in this Massachusetts marketplace and give this a shot. I looked into opening a company again and potentially going down that road, but to be honest, it took so long to get to that $3 million mark that I was like, I don't know if I got another 10 years before I get to that space again.
Sure.
Maybe I should see if there's a company out there that could, use my expertise that's in that market space already and looking to go to the next step. So I did my research. I saw, a few different companies and I reached out to Ray and his wife, Tasha. We had a meeting and, the rest is history. We agreed that it would be a great fit. And when I came to the company, we were probably around 5 to 7 million, I'd say, with about 25 people. And that was 4.5 years ago. And
Wow.
here we are today with a massive, like I said, growth we came out of that post-COVID, uh, time of HVAC boom where it was an order taking business for us at that point, right? Everybody was investing in their homes. So it was easy for us to grow. So that was a launch point for us. That helped, us get where we are now. And, during that time, because you're a small company, you don't have processes built like you do at a large company. So the
Sure.
last couple of years, that's just what we've been focusing on. We've kind of been in that wheelhouse of steady, 15, and we're just creeping up 16, 17, 18, the last couple of years here where we're just really trying to focus back in our business, build a good culture, build great processes so that we can now, take the next step into, that big world of 30 million, which is our next goal.
Well, the last 4.5 years has been great growth. I mean,
Huge growth.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Did you say like 5 to 6 to 8 now to 18? Did I hear that right?
Oh yeah. Huge, massive growth. Yeah.
What are some lessons you learned as an owner, right? That still impact how you lead today?
Well, culture is going to eat strategy for breakfast every single day.
Man, I like
So,
that one.
um,
I think you mentioned it on our prep call, and I said the
yeah,
same thing. This
yeah,
one's recorded, so I would have to still. I'm accumulating one-liners here that I love from all these podcasts. Go ahead though. So,
yeah,
culture eats strategy for lunch every day.
yeah, yeah. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever, all of them.
Okay,
So you got to really build, a company with core values. You got to really talk about it. You've got to build relationships with your team. You got to hire, according to that culture and that fit. Because once you get the boat, rowing the same direction where everybody, they believe into the company values, the story. We got a cool story. Small company, been in business since 2008. Raised a lot like me. He's the same exact age. Started his company a long time ago. There's that initial time frame where it took him a long time to get to that point. So when him and I sort of connected there, we're both kind of in that same space. And for him, he's always been a hardcore doer, really smart guy, very data driven. So where I didn't nearly focus on the metrics of the business as much, and respecting how much that means to be a responsible business owner. So between the two of us, we make a really good fit, because what I focus on is building those relationships, building that culture, speaking to what's important, why we do what we do, and really helping our community, right? So that's the part of the business that I think, when I first started to where I am now, that you really got to emphasize that part of the business to make you a successful organization for the long term. And then your reputation starts to precede you. People come to you because they hear it's a great place to work. People come to you because, you guys do excellent work. You stand behind your work. You really mean what you say you do. All those things start to work out in your favor.
sure. Culture is huge. It's really the backbone of your organization. Get everybody paddling the same way on the boat. you mentioned that your team does a daily huddle every single day, right? And
That's right.
so first thing in the morning, walk me through what that looks like.
Yeah. So every uh, manager in the business, so warehouse manager, install manager, service manager, call center manager, sales manager, GM, and owner, we get in a stand up in front of a TV, and Ray actually runs this meeting, and he goes over the data from the prior day. So how was how was our booking rates? What was our cancellation rate? Did we get enough memberships booked for our call counts? Um, and then we either celebrate or we just say, hey, what happened? And just usually a quick explanation. Then we move into install, how'd it go? Sales, how'd it go? Same thing, right? So we're checking in, making sure we're holding our teams accountable, making sure there's no excuses. And, if there's challenges, we talk about them. Then we jump into, all right, what's today look like? So today looks like we're booked on, all fronts. We got all the calls ready to roll. All of our technicians are in house. We're ready to rock and roll and go execute this day. What's our commitments? Our commitments are we're going to make 10 grand today in service. We're going to make 25 grand in install, so on and so forth. So if there is no commitment, there better be a good excuse or a good reason, I should say, because excuses we don't accept. Um, but it's sort of like getting a line together, knowing who needs what. So sometimes what will happen too. This is really cool about the huddle. Maybe install had a cancellation that happened last minute, and that happens.
Sure.
And HVAC service is wildly overbooked. Those HVAC installers can pick up a couple of those demand jobs from the service side and help, grab some jobs and maybe do some revenue on that end too. So we'll say, hey, I got some guys. We had a cancellation. We'll shoot them your way and we'll get it done.
I love all of that. How long is the daily huddle? What's the goal time wise?
It's the goal is 15 minutes, but there's times where it'll run a half an hour on occasion because when you're really fighting together in the trenches on things aren't going too great, maybe calls aren't where they need to be, maybe you got a few challenges with people out, sometimes it go a little bit longer. We really have gotten a lot better. Our huddle used to be 5 minutes, very topical, really no like commitments, no what's going on today. And then it's gotten more and more robust into what we're looking in. So they've gotten a little bit longer because of that, but it really has changed our game as a company, and we've really gotten a lot more traction, specifically in the last 3 months, on making sure those call counts are hitting, checking those lead aggregators that we can leverage on every single day. So like simple things like Angie's List, for instance. Hey, we don't have enough calls in HVAC service. Let's turn Angie's List on. We'll get a few calls on the board. We'll get something going by the end of the day. Not a great lead source for us, but it's still a lead source and an opportunity where we didn't have it before. So those are things we're talking about as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, it may not be the best return on a lead, but if it's got any profit in that lead, at least it's better than zero, right? I've always
That's right.
said,
That's right.
any service call, that dollar amount is always and will always be greater than zero. And so, no, I like that. I love the information feedback from the day before, right? And so, hey, here's what we did yesterday. Here's what we're looking at this today. How hard was it to get the team to buy in to the daily huddle, and how long have you been doing it? Has this been going on for a while, or is it fairly new? Or
Yeah, Daily Huddle's been going on for damn near the entire time I've been here. When we first
okay,
started,
so it's not a new thing. Okay,
yes. So but like I said, it's evolved quite a bit.
yeah,
We used to just sort of celebrate what we sold and not what we installed. So then we said, all right, we're gonna track both of those separately, right? So we started talking about that, and that was how it grew a little bit. Then we used to have a breakout because our installs will sometimes be over multiple days. So let's say we got a 3-day installation. We used to even say, all right, well, we'll divide it by the 3 days that we're doing the job and we'll call it completed revenue. But we stopped doing that too. We said, you know what? We can't, that's not real. Let's actually celebrate when we complete the revenue. So a couple of things that have evolved over time that really have made it way more effective for us to measure our business success and celebrate the wins. And we track this every single day. We track it by the week. We track it for the month, right? So
sure.
that's how do you win the day? How do you win the week? How do you win the month? And you could really impact your business on a day-to-day basis doing it this way. As far as buy-in goes, that wasn't that difficult because, everyone who we've hired has always sort of been based on like that. We're looking for people that fit our culture, that want to grow, develop, and buy into the Landry story, right? So most of the people that come to our organization, most of them, if they don't figure it out in the first 90 days, they usually walk themselves out the door because they're like, this is too much for me. I can't handle this. I'm out. That wasn't going to be a good fit in the begin with, right? So the ones
Sure.
that stuck around that we hired, they were easy to buy in because they understood, how important it was to be successful. And, we're sharing a lot of information. We overshare, if I'm honest. But we do that because we want them to see it. We want to show, you know, how important all this actually is in order to be a responsible, successful business. And then, when we do, we celebrate it. And when we don't, we get in the trenches together and we fight together.
Figure out how to make it, how to fix any issues. I like that you share that much information. I think your team or team members appreciate that too. I think the more transparent you can be, the stronger the team is, because they have a better understanding of what those numbers mean, and then what it takes to actually run, Landry Mechanical, that is now, has 80 mouths to feed, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's a huge, that's a big number. It's a big commitment to, to your staff and team members. I'm just curious on kind of a follow up culture question. How do you think your culture shows up, right, in the way your customers perceive you? Which, when you're out there, or how do you want it to show up? How do you hope it shows up, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, tricky question, right? Because you want this to be 100% of the time perfect, but
Sure,
the reality is it's not, right? So every single week we're having meetings with our technicians and we're talking about how we show up, how we present ourselves. We often have times with technicians buying into what we charge, right? So we'll say, hey, listen, guys, you're only if you go to the call and you just look at the problem that they asked for and you walk in, you give them the price within 5 minutes and say that's it, and they decide, hey, that's too much money, and then you walk out the door. You didn't present appropriately. You didn't do the Landry value. You didn't go in and do all the things that we teach you, right? So of course the price seems expensive. So what we're trying to accomplish is a full 5-star experience from the time they call in. And they get a great, a live person on the phone. We do have some AI stuff too now, but it gets them to a live person always. And just to sort of filter down those calls. So that call, connection, making sure that script with the person who's answering the phone goes really well to the time that the technician arrives. Now that in that transition, we have the dispatch team letting the person know, you don't have to be home. Like, we're coming today. I don't know the exact time yet, because in our world, job to job, it could change. So we're going
sure,
to keep you posted every few hours on when the technician's going to be arriving. We're going to send you a text. We're going to give you a call, whatever it might take. So we have an experience coordinator in the office that's just behind dispatch, making sure everybody's up to date on when we're showing up. Dispatch then sends out the text saying, Aaron's on his way, or Joe's on his way, or whoever's on his way. Guy shows up. We do the agenda card here. So we say, hey, Landry Mechanical, not only are we going to take a look at the actual problem, but we're going to do a thorough evaluation of the whole system. If you like what we present today, therefore we're going to give you a bunch of options. We're not going to just pigeonhole you to that one item.
sure,
We're going to give you 3, 4, maybe even 5 options for whatever it might take to repair this thing, Band-Aid all the way up to maybe some things that you might not even knew you wanted. If you want, we'll get started on that today. And then, last but not least, we want to make sure that you get a 5-star experience. And if any time during this call you don't get that, will you let me know? So that's what our technicians are saying to our customers. Right then and there, hopefully they start to feel like this is a different company.
sure.
Then the technician's going to go through the entire home with the client. They're going to ask him a bunch of questions. Hey, so tell me, you guys were without heat. How'd that make you feel? Yeah, I'm sure that was pretty tough. What has this happened before? When it does happen, what do you guys have to do? So we're trying to build some relationships with those clients, right? We want to make
Yeah,
sure
build
that,
trust, right?
we want to make sure that we're creating a relationship with that customer for life, not just for this call. And, we're notating all this, and we're, so that next time we go, we know that Jane and Joe and their daughter, you know, Grace is in the house, and they like this certain way, and we're really taking serious care to write down all the notes about the household, making sure that we mark down all the equipment. All right, here's the thermostat. This is what they have for a thermostat. Here's what we got for the equipment that's all serialized, right? Then we're going to the customer. We're presenting an array of options. We're saying, hey, this will get you going today. This is going to be around $200-300, but you mentioned you really had some concerns about the upstairs not being cool enough. So add in some zoning packages. We can zone your system and give you another thermostat upstairs. This way, when you call for cooling upstairs, it's going to be a little bit cooler, and that system will run for whatever that might be. So we're going everywhere in between there too, right? So anything they talk about during that call, and then we get started on that process right away. Then we do a wrap up with the customer, make sure we show them everything we did, make sure we keep the place clean. We got drop cloths all over the place. The guys are wearing boot covers, making sure they talk to them about their pets. Is there any concerns with pets in the house? Do we need to worry about closing doors behind us? You name it, we're covering it.
It's
We even go ahead.
no. Well, it just reminds. It's just such a. I don't want to. Well, I'm thinking of a sales process. I don't want to sound like it. You guys are just trying to upsell him, but you're really asking. You're just asking questions. I found in being in doing sales for 25 years now that the number one thing people like to talk about is themselves, and so it's so similar to what you're saying and what we always talk about. Talk about their pets, ask them questions, get them to talk about their house, what it is they're experiencing. And if you can get that conversation going, right, in a very authentic way, they all of a sudden will start trusting your technician, right? Really it's just because you're asking certain questions, getting information, but really letting them just talk and talk about themselves. So I love all that. And they may only do a $200-300 job, but if they like you, now they trust you, you're going to be the one to call when they have some other issue, right?
Yeah. Well, the other part of it too is, I want to prevent future pains. So they may not know that they have an issue, and we're going to bring it to their attention as long as they allow us. Is it okay if I bring it to your attention? Yeah. Who wouldn't want somebody to bring their potential future leak or their potential future breaker from tripping or whatever it might be?
I had one of my best friends. We did his marketing for 10 plus years, but he built the biggest irrigation company in Texas, maybe in the country, and it was really all mainly sprinkler repair, it's broken, go fix it. Ton of drainage work, yard drainage. And they did some landscape lighting kind of as fill in. But, they would show up at the house and he always had a young technician, yes sir, no sir, everything that you described, really personable. They had a labor that was there to, do the work, help do the work. But man, they would tell them what their issue is, right? Okay, well, we'll check it out. And then, 10 minutes later, whatever, they knock on the door and you go out there. Now they got 10 flags in your yard because they fired off every zone, right? And they're like, hey, this, we're going to take care of this for sure, but here's some other issues. And, a high percentage of people will fix, they may not fix every issue, but they will fix a lot of times several issues that they didn't even know they had, plus the original issue, right? Sounds like the same theory, right? But yeah, no, I love that. And it's, it helps increase that per average, that ticket average, right? Per
Yeah,
job.
our average sale is $1,200 right now because
Is that what's the goal? What's the average? Like if you tell your guys we'd like to average X on service calls.
Well, it varies based on the seasonality of the business and depending on the department, right? So I'll say this much. It's less relevant because every business is going to be priced differently. So our price is reflective of all of the metrics, including conversion rate, efficiency, roll rate, all these things that we take into account. But of course, the more revenue that we generate as a company, the more opportunity we can also create for the company and its employees. So are we always looking to increase average ticket? Absolutely. So we do a budget in the beginning of the year and we say, all right, we've been doing $1,000. We can expect a certain amount of increase just on, prices going up and inflation, right? But here's what we want to do. We had this many calls. We had this conversion rate. What if we could just add 2% to that conversion rate and we could add just $200 to our average ticket? What does that look like for us as a business? How are we going to achieve it? And so
Yeah.
that's how we'll do it. And that's how we set our goals. So right now, of course, average sale for us in service is probably $1,100, I think, something like that. And then last month it was $1,200 or $1,300. So we exceeded that. So then next year, when I go back to do my budget, I'm gonna say, hey, we were doing $1,300, $1,200 on that average sale. We're gonna try to shoot for, maybe 1,350, 1,400, something like that. So always looking to increase, responsibly.
That little increase too goes a long way because it's that increase times thousands of service calls,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
All of a
So
sudden, you got an extra $1 million at the bottom in your top line revenue. You're like, where
yeah,
did that come from?
that's what we're aiming for. You mentioned Nexstar has been a big part of your growth. For people who are not familiar with it, what is Nexstar and how has it helped Landry Mechanical?
Yeah, Nexstar. So that was around the time I came to Landry Mechanical. Right before that is when Ray joined that organization. We do owe them a lot of our success. They give you the framework for a home services business. So it's very niche. It's just our type of industry, right? So companies that are doing plumbing, HVAC, and electrical typically do all three or a variation of. Those are the members of Nexstar. It's a member-owned company. So we get, the leverage of being able to contact other members and say, hey, what's going on in your business? How are you running it? What does that look like? Right. So we all operate kind of under this process that's been built by Nexstar. So they're going to give you the playbook to how you should set up your P&L, how you should present to your clients, from a customer facing standpoint, how you should position yourself with your salespeople, how you should position yourself in the warehouse. They literally help you organize your entire business from the top down. And they have coaches for each individual, aspect of the business. They even have a rebate coach. So somebody who will help you get extra money from the money that you're already spending with vendors. Simple
Sure.
things like that. Yeah. So pretty cool. We have a business coach. We have a leadership coach. We got a warehouse coach. We got an implementation coach, call center coach, sales coach. What else? They say leadership coach. Yeah. You name it, they got it, and they help support us. So I can also tell my employees who work for us, hey, you have access to this too. So my managers who are running in a space that they maybe never ran before, they can still continue to get that, guidance on what's best practice and what's working
Yeah,
in
no, I love it. It
our.
sounds like it's just helped you really fine tune the business and utilize resources. It sounds like a lot of that in coaching too, right? And to just help you with the different facets of the business, even the rebate part, which was kind of music to my ears because so many business owners don't take advantage of rebates, right? That are there because they don't know how to, or they don't want to mess with it. But and those are those manufacturer rebates?
Yeah, it could be anything.
Yeah,
They have a member network. So of course, not only do we get the rebates from the vendor that you would normally get just by being a partner with that vendor company, but because they're also a partner of Nexstar, they'll bump it up points. So, for Milwaukee, everybody knows Milwaukee Tool, right? So Milwaukee's a Nexstar partner. So not only will we get a rebate, from everything we purchase through a specific vendor because we buy Milwaukee Tools, but because we're buying Milwaukee Tools and being a Nexstar partner, we might get an extra 1%.
yeah.
So
I mean, those
simple
rebates can
things.
add up, right? It's just kind of gravy on
Thousands,
the top, right? Who doesn't
thousands,
like getting a
thousands of
check in the
dollars.
mail? Yeah.
Yep.
So I've never complained about getting money, a payback just for using an XYZ service. Let's transition into marketing. I'm a digital marketer. We have an agency here. We work with home service businesses around the country. One thing I found interesting in our prep cards is you made a comment that marketing is one of the few levers you can move more directly. So how do you think about marketing as a growth lever instead of just an expense?
Yeah. If we don't, if we don't create a strategy that's appropriate, for what we need to grow by making sure, are we in the digital marketplace? Are we in the, billboard and radio and commercial marketplace for brand awareness? Are we, so how's our Google profile set up? We got to make sure that it's all appropriately bucketed and that we're getting an ROI on those areas and really track that. It's probably the easiest lever for us to pull when it comes to an expense. Some things are fixed, right? You sign a contract for a billboard, you're locked in, right? We're a proud sponsor of the local Woo Sox baseball team, which is the AAA ball team for Red Sox. We know we're going to lock into that contract, and that's probably not going to bring us a direct ROI, but we're going to do it for brand awareness because we're looking to grow in that marketplace. So we just do it.
Sure. Yep.
You can't necessarily translate that into dollars, but what you can translate into dollars, what you can't quantify, is the Angie's leads that I was talking about earlier, right? I could say I got this lead, this generated this much cash. I know that I can turn that off and on as I need, and I'm going to spend X, and I'm going to potentially revenue X, right? So, marketing, man, like that's I am not a marketer by any means, but I've learned through the School of Hard Knocks quite a bit, what to do and what not to do, and
Sure.
you know, through coaching as well. Another aspect of Nexstar they have a marketing coach too that helps us not only digital but standard marketing strategy as well. So yeah, that's a huge one for us. We spend an awful lot of money on it. I'll tell you that much. So I think we're going to be $1.5 million by the time we're all said and done this year, just in marketing alone. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's, I mean, if you're at 18 million, so, I mean, it's about 7%, 8%, quick math in my head.
yeah, we
So, I
like to
mean,
be under 11. That's our goal, under
to
11.
what, be under 11?
Yeah,
What about Google? And local service ads, Google ads, is that still a big driver for you?
huge. Yeah, that's an ever evolving situation too, right? Because they keep changing algorithms, they keep changing the way they do business. So we always got to stay ahead of it. We have our main locations here in Millbury, but we do have 4 other office locations, physical locations. And so that's by design. We're looking to push out further. So we keep,
Sure.
renting out
You
spaces
got
and setting up
Google
office.
business profiles set up for all the
Yeah,
locations, reviews tied to each one. And
exactly. Review
yeah,
velocity is huge for us too, because the more
yeah,
reviews that we get, we're actually, I think, reaching over 3,700, I think, reviews
awesome. Yeah.
online with 4.9 rating right now. So we're killing it on the review
Yeah.
side of
It
things.
means you got a process. It means you're asking. We tell business owners all the time, look, all you have to do is ask. You got to have a process in your business to where when you have that happy experience, that's the time to ask, and then have at least a 3 follow-up sequence. And then if you still don't get the review, I'm a big believer, just leave them alone. You don't want to irritate someone that was happy with you. But if you ask, you will get reviews. And I tell people all the time, look, don't let it stress you out. I mean, if you just got 2 a week, you'd have 104 at the end of the year. I
Yeah,
mean, so, people have all those reviews, they just ask and they keep asking, right?
that goes a long, long way with our, regardless of whether or not we're showing up where we want to show up. People do see that review,
Sure.
number, and they do pay attention to that. And I mentioned a long time ago in the beginning of the call about our reputation preceding us. That's another part of it too, is having that, and they go away. Most people don't know that. Like, reviews drop off. So they don't, once you get a 5-star review, it doesn't stay there forever. You got to keep generating more and more and more to keep that number
Yeah.
locked
Are you
in.
talking about Google reviews?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, so you mentioned that. That's interesting. I have never heard they go away. I know Google shuffles them up, and sometimes, your first review may be from 2 years ago, right? And then, so it's not just the most recent down, but 4.9, and almost 3,000 reviews is job well done, I will say. So you've got that process. But keep hammering away, especially, it's a huge credibility piece, not only in today's world. I mean, old school marketing, it's always been a big credibility, but even more so with the AI world, because the LLMs, large language models, the chat GPTs of the world,
But yeah, we're going
one
to
of their
that
main
next.
factors is credibility, that they're looking for.
Yeah,
So
the whole AI thing is new to me. I
it's,
use it, but
do what?
we're using it, but
Yeah.
we're still fresh for us. So
Well, it's a whole new world as far as showing up in the AIs too. And then Google made their big announcement last month that they're going to, what you see on a search result will be looking vastly different here in the near future. No more blue links, basically, pushing their AI view across the board. So now you can hit the AI search option, or you can have what I call the old school Google search option, but it's all going to AI. So, but websites, people are like, well, hey, websites aren't going to be important anymore. I couldn't disagree more. Websites are still valuable. The information and how you present it is what needs to change, right? It's about making sure we call them answer first websites. So you're answering questions that people are now typing into. The public is being retrained how to search on AI. So they're not on ChatGPT typing in AC service near me, right? It's typically a long-winded question about what the issue is they're having and who they recommend, which is fine. It's just changed. And Google still got to, if someone's looking for HVAC coming to your market and they're on Google AI, they still need to serve up reputable AC people. So, because they got to have content, right? Otherwise, don't quit using it. I went to Google, looked for an AC company. I didn't get anything. So, but that has all changed. But I think it's for us, we just see it as a big opportunity to kind of shuffle the deck and re-educate people on what it takes now to show up in the AIs and Google. Google's not going away. It's another thing. Hey, Google's, like SEO, search engine optimization, the organic side, your website's showing up on page one. They're like, SEO is not important anymore. Again, I couldn't disagree more. It's more important now than it ever was because it's changed. And if you don't adapt to how your website is marketed and how that content is structured, you could have a site that ranks really well start to disappear. So, you mentioned AI and that you guys are using some AI in the business. That is a service line that we're getting ready to launch in July, really to help people set up true AI sequences to help their business and processes. What are y'all doing with AI? What part of it? I think you mentioned something in that when they call in or you're using some AI. Tell me how you're using it. I'm very curious to hear.
Yeah. So I got to make mention because this is what I don't like about AI. If you ever go to our website, they used an AI generated image of me for our
Yeah.
front of our website, and they did not do me well. It did me dirty, Todd. It made me about 10 years older. It didn't make me look younger. It didn't do any of that. So disappointed in AI on that front. But no, I'm kidding.
I saw that photo. I was wondering if that was AI. That's funny. Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I show up as a live image in our commercials, and then there's that, and I'm like, they took the image from the commercial and they used me for.
Today, I don't think it looks bad. So you may be hard on yourself, but
I know. All right. Well, anyways, we use it. Not only do we use it for our call center because we have to have that initial like overflow to sort of filter to the right people, get it to the right place. Maybe there's not enough capability in the call center, even though we have an awful lot of people in there at this point. Sometimes you get a surplus call. So that's a place that we're using it. We are actually going to be entering like the AI search platforms. We're trying to show up in that marketplace. It's so new and people are just starting to use it. So if you go to your, Chat GPT, which is probably the most notable name, and you type in what companies are in my area, it's not happening a ton yet, but it is happening.
sure.
So we have to enter into that marketplace, and that's part of our strategy right now. We are also using it for data within our business as well, and it helps generate reports really fast. So it can quantify, a whole lot more than I can in about 5 seconds.
Sure.
And really make us make smart decisions really quick. So it's definitely a big part of our business. I use it even on a day-to-day basis as the GM. Sometimes I want to do a PowerPoint presentation and, I need to make one real fast and I can turn one around about 1 hour or 2 hours maybe, or even less. And it looks better than probably what I would have done in 4 or 5 days. So
Yeah, I've got to do a presentation in July. One of my podcast guests has a organization called Trade Wins, like wins, for the trade business. And anyway, he asked if I'd present to his group on just really best practices of digital marketing, what's working, what's not. Make sure you have XYZ in place is kind of. But anyway, I was like, I can knock that out with Claude, in about an hour or so. What's cool about it to me, like with Claude and projects like that, is you can tell it what you're looking for and it'll give you version one. And then very quickly with prompts, you can really start to fine tune that. And, the more you work with Claude and tell it exactly what it is you're doing, what's your brand, your voice, it can make that project even much quicker the next time because it already knows what you like or what you're looking for
Exactly.
in that, presentation and so forth. Because really then now you're just, the bones are there, right? Now you're just changing slides or content or so forth. But yeah, we're knee deep in it. We're changing our whole organization. Just like with web dev, we're going away from WordPress. It's been our go-to forever. The content management system at site we built all our sites in. Now starting to use Astro and Cloud Cannon, and it's really just because it's faster. It gets rid of all these plugins that are security issues within WordPress that have to be updated, and then it's just already set for that AI, that next step, right? So it's crazy in a way. It's like wow, something else to deal with in the marketing world. But like I said, we can either whine about it or think it's a threat or look as an opportunity. So I love that you're doing data too. That's one of the main things I think we can really help businesses with is get some basic AI set up to help them have their data in one spot to really look at it quickly versus logging in here, 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 here. So it's pretty exciting. It's just the only thing I don't like about it is that it moves so fast that it's like you think you got it. And then it's like, oh, wait, now I can do this, this, and that. So
Every
another
day.
thing
New.
I always say too on a pick your poison, right? Because there's like 10,000 tools now. I mean, and it can just overwhelm you. So pick your poison. Like, what am I going to go deep in? And that one tool can serve you, right? And you don't need to be the master of every AI tool. That's just my opinion, right? Because every day there's a new this or that. And I see them all because my Facebook and my social media algorithms know that I'm always looking at AI tools and things. And so, yeah, it drives me crazy. I'm like, I don't even want to hear AI anymore. But anyway, we have to. I got long winded there. I want to ask you one follow up question on marketing. If there's one thing, because you said you've had some bad experience with agencies, your current agency, I think you're working with two different ones. You said you like a lot. So far, so good experience. But if there's one thing you could change in dealing with marketing agencies, what would that be? And I know I'm in that business, so don't hold back. You're not going to hurt my
Sure.
feelings.
Yeah, no worries. You know, there's certain areas or aspects that they may or may not have complete control of, but I really do like having more of a consultant when it comes to marketing. Again, this is not what I do all day, every day, right? My job, my role is to operate a business and run a business. And, that's part of it. That's a small part of it. I can't spend my whole day there, although I know how important it is. So really having a really deep dive into what makes sense because, as much as it does cost, you really just need to be very, very careful what you spend it on, right? So on a weekly basis, it's nice to have somebody that says, hey, your targeted spend versus your revenue. So you're at, 6.9 here, but you're not getting the calls here. Maybe we should up the spend on PPC or something over here, right? Like, so something like that is nice to have. Not all, marketing agencies do. And I'd like it even at a higher level. And then,
That's a great point, real quick, to interject, because that's something AI can do is give you real time data. But what we find the biggest challenge is just finding either the business owner or someone in the organization that actually looks at the data, that actually looks at the lead conversion, because we're passionate about tracking leads, have for years. And you can log into your CallRail account. You can see where all your leads are coming from: Google Ads, SEO, Facebook, and Chat GPT. But yet, so many business owners they don't look at their leads. And so if they're not looking at the leads, they know they're getting them. When I say look at the leads, like, hey, okay, that was we got this many from Google Ads. What more important? What did that job turn into? What was the
right.
revenue? Right.
That's right.
So we can really start tracking return on ad spend, ROAS, as they call it. But anyway, it's I love that you're like, hey, they have all this data, but then I'm like, how do you get business owners or someone in an organization to actually work with the agency to track that data?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's from our side. It's like, it's very frustrating.
Yeah. And then, even right down to your call center, right? Cause
Yeah.
they could produce the leads, but are you booking them? What's your process look like in your call center?
Yeah.
And, what's your speed to your phone call answer? And what does that look like? And having a consulting discussion about that as well. And including that in their conversation, because, it's one thing to produce leads, but, then they say, here, this, what you do with them is on you. Well, I want that next level experience of like, yeah, well, we know we got to focus on booking those leads, but like, how could we do a better job? Right.
I think
having a little
Working
bit
with
of
the team.
discussion around that.
Yeah, training your team to make sure they're answering those calls properly and that they are booking them. They're talking to those clients how you want. Because so many times it's not a marketing or lead generation problem. A lot of times it's follow up. It's a follow up problem, right? Or how that lead is being handled. Because really, the agency, our job is to make the phone ring in a high, make the phone ring, give you web forms, make sure we're marking the right spots. That's just at a high level because it all still comes down to ROI at the end of the day. Most times. I mean, you want to give good service. We're big on service. We're big on transparency and obvious ROI. Those are our three core values that we want to give back to clients. But it's because our joke is every time there's an issue with business, if it gets slow or it's always it seems to be a marketing problem, right? It's the marketing's fault. Like what's going on with marketing? And it really could be, hey, these leads aren't getting followed up, or you got a percentage of leads that the call center's not able to handle or so forth. So just tracking that data and then actually utilizing that data to make decisions to fix those holes. Because we'll bend over backwards and to help in that part. But if the organization has no clue or doesn't put any effort, it doesn't work. It's not a one-way
Yeah.
street.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you guys are really dialed in, which I love about knowing your numbers and data and what's going on, and even on a daily level. And that's probably why one of the many reasons you have skyrocketed from 5 to 6 to 18 in 4.5 years. So
yeah. Yeah.
no, good. That's great stuff.
Yeah. It's really important. And I would recommend, if you're not doing that, you better start looking at exactly your point where you can serve all leads, but how come they didn't get booked? And that's exactly right. We even made that mistake. We would point our finger back at the media company or the advertising company and say, hey, where's our leads? Why are they not working? So we did that.
Well, and that's a fair question, but yeah, we've had clients 3 or 4 years that are rocking, doing great lead flow. They know it's working and they've changed. And I think sometimes they just get bored. It's like, well, I just want to try something different. And then a lot of times, I'd say 50% of the time they will come back because the grass is not always greener, but that's always frustrating. And those people they're always a business that doesn't know the true number of what their leads are creating, but yet they're making a change. We can see all these leads and on paper, hey, it looks great. I see lead flow. I can see how long these calls are. I can listen to the calls. They're all calls are recorded. They're transcribed. I can see all the web forms, but yet they really are making decisions based off no concrete data of what the real ROI is. I wanted to ask you, I've kept you long. I'm going to wrap this thing up, but what are you guys excited about? What fires you up, Zane, the most looking down the road the next, say, 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, great question. Well, we're putting a major emphasis on developing leadership and future opportunity for our employees. Myself and the two owners, well, Ray and Tasha, husband and wife, the owners, Landry's, we saw an area of opportunity this year with making our culture strong. I want to go back to what I said, what's important, but really staying focused on it and making sure the leaders below you in your business are also carrying that message forward so that when times do get tough, because they were, people do rally with you, not against you, right? So we really want to make a strong emphasis on developing our culture even further than it is, creating a great environment here, creating great experiences for our clients. That's why I do what I do. I started as a kid in a small town with no college degree, and now, GM of a $18 million plumbing, HVAC, and electrical company. Like, there's nothing better than taking what I did, teaching somebody how to do it and be successful, and being a really productive part of society and continuing to grow, generation after generation.
Sure. No, I love that. It's and kudos, man. I love your story. Last question here or topic, and it's unrelated to business, but I got to bring it up because when you heard I was from Dallas Fort Worth, you said, well, hey, I'm a Cowboys fan. Are you a Cowboys fan? And I'm like, yes. And I'm like, how are you a Cowboys fan though, being up in the Northeast? So how did you become a Cowboy fan again? We're talking about Dallas Cowboys for any of our listeners who aren't following us here.
Yeah, so I was actually born in Houston, Texas, believe it or not, even though I'm primarily from New York.
That's right. Yes, Houston. And you're
Yeah.
not you're not a Houston fan, or Houston Oilers back in the day, now Texans.
No. I actually remember growing up, though. My mom got me a Houston Oilers jersey because she was a Houston fan, but my dad was a Cowboy fan. So my mom's from Syracuse, my dad's from Newark, New Jersey, and so they were there at the same time. They got together. They had me. We then moved back to New Jersey, but that time that my dad was there, Roger Staubach was the quarterback. So
Yeah.
he became a big Cowboy fan, and once Dad's a Cowboy fan, there's no. I'm sitting there watching the games with him as a kid. And then the '90s happened, and of course, I'm hanging on to the '90s still. So
yeah, well, aren't we all? So yeah, we're 30 years now in since last NFC Championship game or Super Bowl, right? I mean, we didn't make the NFC Championship game. So as a you and I were two tortured Cowboy fans. So what do you think's harder, right? Running a business? What's harder, running a business or surviving another Cowboy season?
Oh man, it's probably a 50-50 split for me because I got all my friends that just send me video after video, and everything's AI generated now, so they're like just brutal to me about being a Cowboys fan. And of course, I'm not one of them, but a lot of Cowboys fans are known for making a lot of noise and how this is our year. Yeah, I'm not one of those people because I'm a responsible person. I don't like to get the cart ahead of the horse until we actually have some game. But I'll tell you what, as soon as I get 5 wins going in a season, I'm like, oh man, we might actually got something here. And then they disappoint me, and then my heart gets broken every year again.
It's like if we get off to a great start, it's almost an omen. Like, oh man, I'm hopeful again, and then I just get demolished at the end. Every year I get the same photo sent to me from buddies, and it's like the headlines, Cowboys Super Bowl highlights, and it's like a picture of floppy disk, or something, because that's how long it's been. But maybe, hey, Zane, maybe this is our year. I don't know. I go in with no expectations, but hey, I keep thinking, the law of average. Eventually, we have to have another winning city. My son's, will be 20 in August, and he's never experienced a Super Bowl or NFC champ. That's what gets me. He admit the NFC championship game. So he's just like, he's a tortured fan. He's like, I hear about these Super Bowls, but I've never seen anything like it. So,
well, it's a classic example of money doesn't fix the problem, right? We spent all kinds of money, but it still won't help.
We have a guy named Jerry problem. GM Jerry. He wants, he's a GM owner, and crazy thing about Jerry is he is such a nice, good guy. And he's a marketing genius, and he does a lot in his community people would never hear about. He gives back a ton. There's so many stories of him, but yet, he could be the king of the town. He could own DFW if he would have just gotten out of his own way, and given up that ego, but he will never do it. He'll never change. So here we are, 30 years,
I know. Well,
and I'm defending Jerry because I've run into Jerry several times, and I've talked to Jerry. I ran into him back in the late 90s when they were on their decline, but they were playing Kansas City up in KC, and went to the game on a business deal. But anyway, we ran to him at a big steakhouse the night before the game and got a picture with him, and it's so nice. Took a Super Bowl ring off. So here's what we're going to do, put it on my finger, and took a picture. And he does stuff like that all the time, but he kills us. He kills us, Zane. All right. I got to be quiet about Jerry.
Tell me about it. Love him.
I'll be texting you halfway through the season and be like, here we go, Zane. Here we go. Here we go. Well, hey, listen, it's been great visiting with you. Sorry I kept you a little long, but for any of our listeners up in your market, up in that Boston area, tell us how they can find you.
Yeah, so they can find us at www.landrymechanical.com. We're all over social media, Facebook, Instagram, with Landry Mechanical as the tag name. And you now find us on AI searches as well. So if you're using ChatGPT out there,
sure.
LinkedIn as well. I'm out there under my name, Zane Fonseca, on LinkedIn, and then Ray Landry, the owner, he's also out there too. So love to connect with people from the industry too. I love information sharing. It's a big part of why, why I'm doing this, and there's a lot of opportunity for all of us. And, you got to have a reason for doing this, and giving back is a big part of it for me. So happy to contribute.
Well, hey, that's a great place to end. I appreciate you being on the show. Any of our listeners want to talk digital marketing, you can always find me at everydaymediagroup.com or on LinkedIn, Todd Baldwin. Zane, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. I hope you guys ended on a bang, hit all your numbers. Love that you're tracking all that. And man, have a great weekend. Enjoy a little World Cup, and let's keep in touch. It's been great visiting with you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. I do appreciate it, and sounds great.
You bet. Thanks, Zane.
All right.